Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing another Pharmacist Explains video. Last week I talked about Ozempic, discussed a little bit about what it was and how it works. If you missed that video, click here. That'll take you right there and you can watch it and then come back here. Today I'll be sticking with Ozempic, but wrapping this discussion up with a little bit about Ozempic and the effects that it has on weight loss. As we know, Ozempic was originally made to be a medication for type 2 diabetes, and it quite successfully worked for that. But it became as popular as it is now thanks to the fact that weight loss is a result, or one of the results, of being on the medication. Now, I've already touched about why it ends up giving weight loss effects in my previous video, but just for a quick summary, it slows down movement in your gut, and that slows down the digestive process. What this means is that you can feel fuller for longer, and that can result in a reduced appetite and therefore weight loss. So there are people all over the internet claiming, of course, that Ozempic is good for weight loss, but what does the research say? At this point, research does exist for us to be able to see that Ozempic can result in quite a significant loss of weight. There isn't nearly enough research on weight loss compared to the treatment of type 2 diabetes, but that makes sense considering that diabetes was where we started with this medication. As we move forward, we are definitely likely to see more and more studies being added to what we already have now on weight loss. But currently, it seems that most studies are showing a weight loss result of about 15% over the course of a year. So that's a decent amount of weight loss over an extended period of time. These numbers are from studies done from around 2018, so a few years ago. I have seen one study in 2022 showing a 6% loss of weight over 3 months, so that's a much shorter time frame. Look, it's hard to give exact numbers of how much weight loss can be expected. We can't just sit down with someone and say, when you start taking Ozempic, you will lose this amount of weight or this percentage of weight. There's a lot of factors that go into it. For example, if you're someone that is using this medication alongside diet changes and you're doing more exercise, you're obviously going to get more weight loss compared to someone who's just using Ozempic on its own and not doing any changes to their lifestyle. There's a lot that goes into weight loss, but at this point, Ozempic seems to be giving a reduction in weight, potentially anywhere from about 5 to 10%, depending on the amount of time that it's being used for. Weight loss seems to plateau as well around the 60-week mark. So what that means is that you won't see any increase to the percent of weight being lost after this point in time. It's hard to find long-term results though, because Ozempic hasn't been around in the grand scheme of things long enough to see years of use. But currently, research has shown that Ozempic has safely been used to achieve weight loss for about 2 years. So that brings us to a very important question. What happens when you stop taking Ozempic? Because it is an injectable medication. You have to essentially give yourself an injection once a week, so it's not the most simple medication to use. And I'm sure the people using it would prefer not to have to use it forever. So what happens when you stop taking it? Well, I did some digging, and there is something called the Step 1 trial, which if you can look into, I would encourage it. The link is in the description. This trial is one of the trials that was used to see if Ozempic can be used to achieve weight loss. But what's different about it is that the participants were on Ozempic for 68 weeks, so around 1 year, and then they stopped taking Ozempic, but the trial continued for 1 more year. So we actually got to observe what happened to these people in terms of their weight and their health after a year of stopping the medication. The trial found that weight regain did happen. The participants gained about 2/3 of the weight that they lost, and as a result, things like blood pressure and cholesterol were also creeping up again slightly. So they found that at this point, it seems, once you start Ozempic, long-term treatment seems to be needed. But it is very important to note here that any lifestyle changes that were implemented alongside Ozempic treatment also stopped as well. So I would argue that we need to see what happens to someone's weight when the medication has stopped, but the person keeps going with any lifestyle changes they made. So they keep going with any diet changes, they keep going with any increases to exercise, and then I would expect to see very, very different results. In this situation then, Ozempic would be very useful as a sort of kickstart for the weight loss, and then maybe we can stop using it and let an individual continue with lifestyle changes. But that's just my thoughts. I'm a big fan of avoiding relying purely on medication if we can, and my biggest concern with something like Ozempic that helps to reduce weight by reducing appetite is the impact that this can have on the nutrients that someone is eating. So what I mean by this is if you were someone who was barely getting enough micronutrients, so that's your vitamins and minerals, things like your vitamin Bs, vitamin C, iron, if you start eating less, that would mean you wouldn't be having the amounts of these important nutrients that you need to maintain good health. So what I'm saying is that weight isn't the only factor in health here. It's also what we consume. If you're eating less, it's very important to make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods so that you can get everything you need from your diet. Of course, these are things that I will be covering in future videos. It's a lot to go into. But anyway, that about brings me to the end of today's video. We have done a bit of an exploration into Ozempic and weight loss. And yes, research is emerging to show that it's a medication that gives results in terms of weight loss. But in Australia, Ozempic isn't approved for weight loss. It's still only approved for the treatment of type 2 diabetes, which means that any use of the medication for weight loss is off-label. This doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just not yet approved by our governing bodies. So when something is used off-label, it's a professional decision made by a doctor and they should have their own clinical reasoning behind it. But claims being made by people on social media have surged off-label use of Ozempic to the point of a stock shortage. And I'm making this video to make things a bit more clear. Ozempic isn't the magic pill, or in this case the magic injection. It's still a medication, which means there's a safe and an unsafe way to use it. It has side effects. A big common one is nausea when you first start it. So just make sure that you know all the facts, that you make sure it's appropriate for you. Go to your doctor, find out that information, and realize the importance of lifestyle changes as well when using any medications for weight loss. As usual, I hope you have learned something from this video. Give it a like and please subscribe if you enjoyed it. All research I used to make the video is in the description, so if you want to explore some more, click on those links. And don't forget to leave a comment if you would like any further explanation on anything mentioned in the video or just about health and medications in general. Thanks for watching, and until next time.